Alright, this is how you set up a bench, or should I say this is how I set up my bench. How you set yours up is entirely up to you, but the general principles are the same. Okay, there's the plane. Alright, you're not going to need this, you're not going to need the lever cap, and you're not going to need the cap iron. I would highly suggest taking them off a bench like this. This is a old workmate of mine which I've put a different top on and cut this out to fit a circular saw in there, so really I've personalised it, so take no notice of any of that. Here's the blade. Oil stone, we don't need that. The old wrecked oil stone, we don't need that. Unless somebody steals this oil stone, and then I might need it again in the future, which is why I've not thrown it away, to be honest with you. So things you'll need: toilet roll. The plate is just to show you something in a minute with the oil. I use these cramps. These are G cramps with a sash mechanism to do them up. They used to be threaded in the old days. You can still use them, of course, but you just have to wind the thread up, and that takes a little bit of a while. But some clever person, unlike the person who designed the new planes where you couldn't fit the lever cap into the screw, whoever designed this actually did a really good job. So I'm well impressed. Anyway, I have about 3 of those in my toolbox. 2 I will need today to show you this. So the things you'll need then is a block. Now, oil, really important, just as important as the oil stone. The oil, this is quite a thin oil. If I show you on this plate, which is the only reason why I brought this plate, it's quite a runny oil, to be honest with you. If I drip it on there, look, you can see it's almost like water. It would be the equivalent of what used to be known as 3-in-1 oil, which is a trademark name. You don't need to use that stuff. It's really expensive just because of the name 3-in-1. You can just go to any builder's merchant and ask them for oil for an oil stone, and they should be able to give you this. It's the same sort of oil that you use for oiling door hinges, anything that squeaks, just lubricating things in general, really. So it's nothing special. That's all we use. Let's put that aside. Right, toilet roll I'm going to put on the floor. Setting up the bench. Okay, what I like to do is, what you're going to need to do is stop your oil stone. If you try and put it on a surface, if I show you and try and sharpen it, it will literally move around. You don't want that. It'll just drive you nuts. But the number of times I've tried, I usually sharpen an oil stone on the floor or something, on a carpet. They don't move around at all, and I find that I can put more weight on them. But I'm going to show you it on a bench today, just so that we can show you via camera how to do this. Clamp the block in place. You don't need to over tighten it. You're not going to be putting vast amounts of pressure on that. That will hold it still. Try not to do it up like some mechanics do up the car nuts on car tyres, or wheels should I say, that you can't get the darn things off without a pneumatic aid. So that one stops the forward movement. The one at the back should hold that in place. That's it now. Let's just move that. How much oil you put on your stone? It's not very much. Now, you have to remember that over the years, putting oil on this stone means that the stone is pretty well lubricated anyway. There's a lot of oil already in there. Well, look, clean fingers, not so clean. So there's already a lot of oil in there. You don't really have to clean an oil stone. Some people recommend it every now and then. They say clean it off with white spirit or something, because white spirit breaks down the oil a little bit. But you can just wipe it off. But you don't necessarily need to clean it like you put it in a washing machine and put loads of spirit on it. It's just literally to remove sometimes this bit of thing. But I never bother, to be honest with you. I think the fine dust on there, the only thing I ever do, if I'm really going to do it, is I grab a dry cloth or some toilet roll and literally just wipe it off like that. And now, that's pretty much all you need to do, to be honest. A cloth would be better, more than likely, for that one. Anyway, oil. How much do you put on? That's it. That's all you need. The thinnest of lines, just to help lubricate this blade as it goes around. Using an oil stone, how do you keep it level this way and this way? I will show you that as I go along. So what you first of all need to do is you need to spread this oil out a little bit. You don't need to cover every surface because as you sharpen it, that'll push it around anyway. So how do you hold it? I hold it like this. So this is the flat side. This is the side that we're going to be taking down. So flat side up, hand like that so that you can get a decent grip on it. Well, this is how I grip it anyway. Put your other hand on it. I tend to put my thumb more or less the back, 2 fingers on the front, and then the other one just hangs around somewhere. This one here for me is that when I'm sharpening it, that one applies pressure to that side and these two apply pressure to that side, so I can find an equilibrium as I do it. Again, this is something I've learned over the years, so it's just something you'll get used to. Practice makes perfect. If you're having trouble sharpening at all and you are afraid of it, as some people are, just practice. Just get the blade, have a go. If it doesn't turn out right, have another go. The more you do it, the more used to it you'll get, the less afraid of it you'll get, the more professional you'll become. So it's pretty simple really. Practice makes perfect. Anybody that does anything will tell you practice is the key. Putting it on. Okay, as I said, I only take that off in one edge. Some people put 2 edges on, but I only take it off in one edge. So I start low and I work my way up. So I start like this and I gradually, as I sharpen, do that with the blade until I'm starting to pick up oil on the front here, and that tells me that really I've taken the metal up to this edge. So I start low, I do this, and then I gradually, as I go along, work my way up. The reason why I do that is because I don't need a grinder then. People tend to put 2 edges on, but eventually as you put those 2 edges on, you will just make that so steep that you can't get an edge on it. You have to then get an electric grinder, which is an awful lot of money, or you have to find somebody with one or pay somebody to use one. So there's no point in doing that. What I do is I try and take off the back what I'm going to take off the front. So to do that, I have to start low, take off the back, and then work my way up, taking the metal off the middle, and then slowly working my way to taking the metal off the front. You want to try and keep that so that you take exactly off the back what you take off in the middle and take off on the front. Alright, so this is how I do it. As you sharpen a blade, as you start low, that will make a different sound as you're sharpening to when you actually start to hear that you've created an edge on the front. Believe it or not, the metal will change to a slightly higher, ringier pitch once you've worked it all the way up. You'll also start to pick oil up on the front of your blade here, which tells you that basically you're scooping oil up, and that means that you don't really need to go any further. If you go any further, you're not doing anything, you're not creating a better edge, you're just simply grinding metal away, which these blades, if you've got a decent steel, then you're just wasting money because you'll have to buy a new one eventually. No point. But it takes an awful long time to wear one of these blades down. I think this one, when I bought it, was down here. That was 20 years ago, and it's still there. It's still got a lot of use on it now. So sharpening it, start low, now what I tend to do is I tend to work either up the sides so that I don't have that nasty trick of doing it in the middle all the time and wearing it out, but I also try to rotate it. I take it right to the ends. I try not to take it too far back, because otherwise what you do is you come off the end, slam the blade into the back, and then that just upsets you. It's upset me a few times for sure. So if you're going to take it off the front, that's not a problem because you're not doing any damage. Alright, but as soon as you get to the back, be really careful. So watch the oil, because the oil will leave when you come round like that. See that mark? That'll tell you how far to the back you're coming. Again, practice makes perfect. You'll eventually learn not to slip it off the back. How much pressure you put on Depends on how much of the blade you need to take down. The more pressure, of course, the more metal you take off. So use your common sense on that one, if common sense is such a thing I'm allowed to use anymore, if it's PC. Let's get rid of that. So if I'm taking metal off this side, I tend to stick to this side of the stone. If I'm taking metal off that side, I tend to stick to this side of the stone. Some people do a figure of 8. I don't tend to do that because you cross over it that way once and you come back and you cross over it again. So this just gets one edge. This is hit once, but this is hit twice on each thing. So you end up scooping the stone out. That's why I go in circles, to be honest with you, or just up and down the edges. Now I'm slowly raising it now. As you can see on there's a huge deposit of the oil. That's because when I put the oil on, first of all, it was quite high on the stone, the oil, it lay on there, that's why it's picked some up. But now that I've ground the oil into the stone a bit more, I don't necessarily need as much oil because I'm just about to put the edge on it. This is where it will change sound. You'll hear it go from quite low to quite a high pitched sound as the metal starts to touch on the front edge. But I'll shut up just so that you can hear it. There. What I'm looking for now is what they call a burr. So once you've sharpened the stone and you've ground the metal, on the backward stroke, that'll bring the metal to do that. So as you draw back, it'll make the metal do that. And that creates what we call a burr, which is where the metal starts to stick up slightly higher on the flat side. So that if you put your nail on it, there, see it's catching slightly? Now you want the slightest of burrs. You don't want something that you can put your nail behind and not move your nail forward after that. It just only has to be there. It's only just there, otherwise you're taking off more metal than you need to. It's that burr that you're looking for, and a very gentle burr, very small amount. It's, as you can see on this side, my nail's still slipping off, so there's no burr there yet. But on this side, you can hear it. There. Let's just see something. There it is, picking oil up there now on that front edge. That means that it's starting to cut into the stone a little bit, and that's why it's picking up the oil, it's scooping it up basically. So that's another indicator that you've got a burr there. That's it, that's all you're looking for. Taking that off, another important reason why you keep the stone level is because when you take it off, flat side down, lightest of pressures, just draw the blade back. You are literally just taking that edge off. You're not grinding it. The moment you grind it, you start to put another grind on this edge. That's it, you've ruined your blade. You'll have to take it down, definitely with a grinder then. So you just level on there, lightest of weight, just draw it back. And that's why it's important the stone stays flat, so that it takes that off evenly. There, that's gone. See, that burr's gone now. Right, once you've done that, just like in a shop where they used to do shaving with an old-fashioned razor, and you'd have the piece of leather, so my hand represents the leather, this is the old shaving knife. You're just basically doing that, which is why they do it. They're taking the burr off completely. You don't do that on your hands, that was just an example, what they do in a barber shop, but what you do is, one of us, if you're a carpenter or a tradesperson of any type, or you're just working on wood, is you put your hand like that and you do that, and that just takes that edge off. You're not stabbing it in, doing that basically. Alright. That's it. There, that's gone now. That's a nice sharp edge. Don't drag your finger along it like that. Well, you can if you've done a bad job, you won't hurt anything, but otherwise what you want to do is just draw your finger down like that very lightly, and it should just catch the skin, and that tells you you've got a really good blade. Try to put it flat side up. You don't want to put it like that on the surface, otherwise you just take your edge off. And now I'll put it back in the plane.